Welcome to Spiritual Shenanigans, the podcast where science meets spirituality, where we explore the mysteries of the mind and the vastness of the universe. If you're someone who is fascinated by the stars and intrigued by the power of the mind and the depths of human consciousness, then join us as we delve into the realms of astral travel, alien encounters, and share tools and tips for practical spirituality. Each week, we'll journey beyond the ordinary, exploring topics that expand our awareness. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a scientist or a seeker, Spiritual Shenanigans offers a playful space where open minds come together to explore the extraordinary.
Hi, it's Jace again, and our second episode of Spiritual Shenanigans. And we are here to teach you all about dreams. Nudrat and Seda will be interviewing Ryan, who is a self-taught expert on dream techniques. This is going to be a good one, so let's dive right in.
Thank you, Jace. So, Ryan, I guess we can just start by simply, asking like what exactly is lucid dreaming? Because it's a topic that we're going to be talking about a lot today, but I think some people actually are not really super familiar with that terminology. How would you describe lucid dreaming and how do you know that you're, in a lucid dream?
So lucid dreaming is basically when you are conscious in a dream and you can control it. So it takes a while to get to that step. So we could take it back a notch and get to dreaming just like the most mundane types of dreams and take it from there. Because to get to that stage where you are lucid dreaming, you need to really like take a step back and do a dream journal and go and look at like the types of dreams that you're having. So for example, most common types of dreams that people have are just when your mind is very busy and you're just rehashing the what happened the day before. So those are the dreams that don't really have any meaning. So your mind is just basically just saying the same things that you went through during the course of the day, but there's nothing really to it beyond that. But if you can at least remember those, that's something. So you can start by taking a dream journal, writing down whatever that you remember about the dream. So it's good to do that right after you wake up. Just jot down whatever you can. And over time, you're going to remember more and more to the point where you might just jot down a couple of things in the beginning, but then after a few months of doing that, you might have like pages in your dream journal just from one night's work of dreaming. It's always good to start from very basics, just write down whatever dream that you have, no matter how boring, no matter how dull, because, like I said, it takes a lot of work to get to the lucid dreaming stage. And in the beginning, you're going to have a lot of dreams that are just kind of meaningless, where your mind is just rehashing old things.
So I know there's a lot of people, myself included, that sometimes don't even remember, have trouble even remembering their dreams. Do you have any tips for us on how maybe we can, get better at dreaming and remembering our dreams? Because I'm assuming that's obviously, a gateway into actually being able to lucid dream, right?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of it comes down to lifestyle. So there's a lot of things that you could do just in your life, just before you go to bed. Like for example, don't eat too much late at night. So if you eat a lot late at night, like after dark, then your body needs to digest it. So you're expending that energy inward to digest your food. So that takes away from the energy that you could use to remember your dreams. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do is just reduce any blue light, like use red light filters on your phone or on your lights. Just try to keep things dark at night because remember your body evolved over millions of years. So and obviously we haven't had electricity for that long. So once it gets dark, then your body knows it's time to relax, it's time to sleep. But nowadays, you still have that blue light activating you and messing up your circadian rhythms. So that could affect your dreamscape as well, where you have difficulty in getting really good quality sleep that you can remember your dreams, first of all. So simple lifestyle modifications like that, just watching what you eat, not eating too late, like don't have like that midnight snack. Try to not be digesting too late, too early in the morning. Try to get that done before sundown. and also just reduce blue light intake before at night before bed as well. And those are some of the most mundane things that you could do. And oh, and another thing that you could do is just during the day, just don't expend too much energy in wasteful acts. Like, for example, exercise is great. Like it's good to have physical exercise, but what I'm talking about mostly is mentally and emotionally. Just try not to drain your energy on like emotional things or mental things, because if you get into a bad state of mind, then that's gonna really take away a lot of your energy, and then you're gonna rehash it in your brain over and over again, thinking negative thoughts. You don't want to do that, especially before you go to bed. So, like one thing that has been taught, like even since the time of like the ancient Greeks, is like one meditation that you could do before you go to sleep. Just think about when you first woke up and then everything that you did during the course of the day, just objectively, and then say like, oh, how else could I have done things? And basically just see how you can improve that, but do it in a non-judgmental way. Like you don't want to have any emotional judgment. You don't want to have any mental regrets or doubts. You just want to look at things objectively. Think of it like as a meditation, and just try to be forgiving of yourself and accepting of yourself, and don't harshly judge yourself. Just go into that meditative state, and that you could rest both mentally, emotionally, physically, that you're in a state that's conducive to having good dreams that you could actually remember and not being stressed out in any way, whether it's mentally or physically.
Wow, that makes so much sense here. So I think basically the loud, resounding message here is to protect your energy, right?
Yes, exactly. So you could do a lot of things to do that. Like one thing we talked about before, yoga. There's something called Kriya Yoga. Kriya means power, and that's basically it works on the breath and energy. So, for example, you can control your breath to the point where you can circulate your breath throughout your body. You could do something called reverse breathing, where you breathe into your abdomen and then you exhale, and then as you inhale, you actually feel the energy rising. As you exhale, you feel it descending down the front. So rising up the back and then descending down the front, let it pool in your solar plexus. So that's one type of Kriya Yoga that you could do just to control your breath work so that you're in a good meditative state. Try to center yourself, like get all that energy pooled in your midsection, because that is a good seat of your soul right there, like in the midsection. That's your solar plex, like your source of power right there. So you want to get that energy within into your source of power so that that you're more in control.
So basically, we're talking simple like sleep hygiene recommendations. No ice cream at midnight. Protect your energy. No fighting with your husband. No raiding. No raiding the pantry at 1 a.m. Yeah, no, that all makes so much sense, and it's basically you want to keep your circadian rhythm intact and keep your energy clean, and that will put you essentially put your nervous system, I guess, in a place where you'll be able to relax and get into that deepened sleep state where you'll be able to access the dream world. And then, eventually go from there into other things like we had mentioned, lucid dreaming.
So that's actually a good point. I could expand on that a little better. The parasympathetic nervous system is the pathways that you want to activate when you are restful. So that's the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. You want to, then that's one of the reasons that I said to control your emotions, to control your mental thoughts, because you don't want to get into that fight or flight mode. You want to get into a more relaxed state, and that's the parasympathetic nervous system. And doing yoga, especially Kriya Yoga, works on that because you're dealing with the energy moving up your spine. That's why you have it going up your back. So it's like the vagus nerve goes up your back. So that's activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So you kind of pull that energy there and let it go up, and that activates your parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. So that does work because it helps to control that type of response, so it's more conducive to a relaxed response that is going to make you sleep better.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, even if you don't use these tips to help you dream better, I think they're just really great holistic health tips to leverage in general to optimize your health, have better sleep, regulate your nervous system. So just great things for us all to put into practice, regardless of whether or not we want to try to lucid dream.
Ryan, I love that you brought up Kundalini Yoga, which is the Kriya Yoga that Ryan was referring to. I think a lot of people know it maybe more as Kundalini Yoga. That's definitely been like a huge part of my path. But yeah, if you're interested in what Ryan was talking about, you can definitely just find like videos on some simple Kundalini breath works. There's plenty of them out there that are like under 10 minutes that would be perfect to do before bedtime.
Yeah, and in addition to that, you could also have certain teas like valerian or chamomile before bed, and that'll help you as well. Or you can take some like mugwort, for example, and I think you guys use blue lotus sometimes.
Yes, Blue Lotus, I know, was one that was particularly a favorite of like the Egyptians. I know they use that a lot to like explore altered states of consciousness, and you can drink that as a tea, and it's particularly useful for sleep, for vivid dreaming, and even for increasing your chances of being able to lucid dream.
Yeah, so basically, if you do a lot of these things, or if you do all of these things that we talked about now, that's really going to help you to recall your dreams. Because I've talked to some people that don't remember any of their dreams at all. And like once they start doing these things, then all of a sudden they do remember their dreams. And that's the first step to getting lucid in dreams. So there's a lot of different types of dreams. I talked about the most boring dreams already, so we can get into more exciting dreams now, too. So one type of like a standard dream where it's not your mind just replaying the thoughts of the day is when your subconscious really connects with you. So during the day, your conscious mind basically is in control. So in your awakened state, you're not really thinking subconsciously, but your subconscious is always there, even though we don't always understand what it wants us to know. But getting into the dream state, you could actually communicate with, or your subconscious mind can communicate with you. So it can show you some archetypes, some symbols, and then if you remember this, you can kind of figure out what they mean. So that's the first step toward lucid dreaming if you have meaningful dreams. So if you start seeing something in dreams that it really strikes you, like, why am I seeing this? Like just something that definitely you wouldn't see during the course of the day, like for example, some kind of exotic animal like a tiger, like you could see a lot of these archetypes. Like animals, for example, and that could be your subconscious speaking to you in a certain way, and you have to really understand what that means. A lot of it has to do with feeling, because there's a lot of dream interpretations out there, but probably the most important thing to connect with your subconscious and understand the messages that it gives you is through feeling. First of all, is it a positive feeling? Is it a negative feeling? What kind of positive? Is it elating? Is it tranquil? What kind of negative? So that's the first step to really understand like what these symbols mean in dreams, and then you could really open the door where your subconscious and your conscious minds kind of flow freely, because the dreamscape is the perfect time to do that, because you're not in technically you're not in your body at that point. You don't even know your body exists when you're dreaming. So that's the perfect time to really integrate your subconscious mind with your conscious mind and learn from your subconscious mind. So you could say it's like learning from your higher self. Your higher self teaches you from your subconscious, and you just have to pick up the signals, like learn from it. And it's not going to happen overnight, because the subconscious mind does work in ways that your conscious mind does not comprehend. If it did comprehend it right away, then you wouldn't need the subconscious mind throwing these things at you. But it's something that you really need to sit with and meditate on afterwards. Like if you do remember your dreams and write them down, you could also meditate on that later in the day before you go to bed the next night, and think to yourself like, what does this actually mean, and try to get into a meditative state, and then you can get the answers possibly there or over time. Sometimes I'll have a dream, for example. I might have a dream that I write down in like 2021, then all of a sudden it makes sense in 2023. But that's why it's good to keep a dream journal and write everything down.
Wow, Ryan, that's so interesting. And I love that you have dream journals dating years back. One day we're definitely going to have to dig into those.
Yeah,
Oh my God, amazing. And maybe Ryan should come out with some
I have
archives.
books.
Okay, so if what you're saying is that basically your subconscious is sending you messages in your dreams, then do you think that for example, people that have nightmares and, just negative dreams or bad dreams all the time. What exactly does that mean? Like, is your subconscious trying to, like, I guess, get a message across to you?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that was me. So that it's interesting that you said that because that's kind of what pushed me toward spirituality because I was having so many nightmares when I was younger. And I really wanted to understand why I was having these nightmares so I could change them. And that's one thing that pushed me because there's no answers to that. Science didn't have an answer to that. The mainstream religions had no answers to that at all. So that's when I started researching about lucid dreaming, and that's where I found out about astral projection. I had no idea what it was until after I did it. But that's another episode, but we'll get to that. But but it is your subconscious mind trying to speak to you. And when you're young and you're very like psychically gifted, I would say, then it's easier to really have a lot of those nightmarish dreams because number one, it is your subconscious, and number two, like it's not just us basically. I don't want to scare people, but I mean, we're surrounded by spirits. You could see them once you become sensitive enough, like you could sense spirits, whether or feel them. Yeah, so especially if somebody has no idea what's going on, but they're psychically very sensitive, they emit energy that attracts spirits, and some of them aren't the best. So if you're having nightmares, it's good to maybe sage or do some kind of protection work or have some kind of devotion. But that is something that drove me towards spirituality when I was young. And in essence, I'm glad that I had those nightmares a lot when I was young because that really was the catalyst that pushed me to really move forward. Like I don't know if I would make as much progress as quickly as I did if I didn't have those nightmares constantly. And that pushed me to wake up within the dream and become lucid at first, if nothing else, just to wake up from the dream, like say, okay, I'm dreaming, let me wake up now. So it started that way.
Right. I think that's pretty common, Ryan, what you're saying, because Seda and I had similar experiences too, where our first like encounters with feeling energies and knowing and sensing that there were other energies or spirits very negative and scary actually. And I think that that's probably pretty common when you're younger because you're more open, you're less conditioned, and you have more of like, I guess, just like that innocent, pure spirit that, and you're not yet aware of energy protection and all of those kind of practices. So you're definitely more susceptible to being vulnerable to these types of energies. And yeah, I think a lot of us find our way to these practices and spirituality through those kind of experiences. That was definitely the case for us too. We had some pretty scary times.
Yeah, because that you're basically just inviting anything around to come in, so it's not always the best thing.
Going back to dreams, I guess I would love to hear a little bit more about dream journals and, kind of, I know, I guess I'm sure people can probably relate to this. I know for me personally, one of the reasons that I really don't ever wake up and record my dreams is because I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to fall back to sleep. Or is that what you do? Like, do you do it when you're half asleep, or do you wait till you're up, for the day? How do you usually do that?
So I think for any beginner, it's always good to jot it down as soon as you wake up because otherwise it's too easy to forget. So for example, like you can remember a dream when you first wake up and you're kind of in a groggy state, but then once your conscious mind gets active, then you might totally forget it because you're in a totally different state. So I would recommend at least to start to write it down, or at least write down the most important parts of the dream, like have a pen and paper next to your bed, just jot it down. I mean, so many people get up at night to use the bathroom and come back, so it's what's turning on the light for like 2 seconds and then just writing down some really uh, quick things that happen in your dream. But when you get to a point where it becomes second nature, so I'm at the point now where I write down my dreams, not right afterwards. Sometimes I'll write them down like a week later. Like I'll go over everything that happened at first when I wake up. Like I'll remember the order and make sure that I remember everything that happens, and then kind of like upload it into my brain somewhere. And then like when I need to download it, I'll do that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, not all of us are superhuman like Ryan. So I think most of us need to write things down. So definitely get a dream journal if you want to start remembering your dreams. So Ryan, I know you've mentioned this to us, obviously, like just in conversations prior to this, but can you tell us a little bit about like patterns? Like I know you mentioned that sometimes you've noticed like dreams on specific days of the week and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So, and that goes with learning from your dream journals. Because, like, if you have a dream journal and you write down the date and the day of the week, even, then you're going to see patterns coming in. Like, for example, you can have a dream one day and then maybe pick up where that dream left off like a week or two later. So sometimes like I'll have dream sagas where I'll start a dream one night and then maybe 2 nights later I'll pick up where I left off and then maybe the next night then I'll finish that dream. So it's like 3 nights over 4 days I'll have one dream. So that's like something, and if I didn't have a dream journal, maybe I wouldn't remember all that happening the way it did. But it unfolds a certain way because, again, like I said, like your subconscious needs you to learn a lesson. Sometimes you're actually doing stuff in your dreams, like in the spirit world too. So it's good to know exactly what you're doing. Um, yeah. So, and oh, and also, like for example, if you write down the days of the week where you have certain dreams, you'll also notice patterns like that. Like for example, sometimes I'll have very vivid dreams every Wednesday for a month, or some other months it'll be like every Friday. So you can kind of sense like what kind of planetary energies that you align with at that particular time. And maybe that's something that you would need to work with more during that particular time. Maybe that's like your your guides actually telling you like to do certain things with this particular energy. Like for example, if it's Friday, that's Venus energy. So do more like work with like Venus if you know about astrology. Like that's something that you could see these patterns and you could kind of guide your work based on that.
Yeah, as you were talking, Ryan, it really just reminds me so much of like a psychedelic journey, really, the way you're describing it, and it's pretty crazy. I don't think a lot of people realize that you can actually, like you said, do healing work in your dreams. I guess when you get to a level like Ryan. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I'm assuming to be able to do that healing work, you have to be somewhat lucid in a dream.
It helps, but not, you don't have to. Like I've had dreams just where I'm with people and I just naturally know how to do healing work. I guess it's just in my energy field. Like it just comes natural, and like it's stuff that I wouldn't do day to day consciously because it's stuff that like I haven't even learned. But whatever it is, it works, and I'm working with their meridians and like putting like sigils and symbols on them on certain areas because your body has like your body like we know everything now based on like anatomy and physiology, but there's really an occult anatomy and occult physiology too that the ancients may have known about, but we kind of lost it. But when you're in dreams and you are interested in doing like a healing modality, that's going to come to you because all of your past lives are really going to kick in and you're just going to be able to do things on a different timeline. So it's like when you're in dreams, time works differently, space works differently, and your mind works differently. So you could actually heal without being lucid in dreams if you just connect with like your past selves, and that knowledge just comes out. And it's like I think some people are sent by their guides to other people to be healed, and like opposite way would be like some people that have some healing ability and some background in it in past lives are attracted to people that need healing in a certain way, and it just happens organically inside the dream, like without. And then if you remember your dreams, if you're good at recalling your dreams, you could say, wow, like this is really intense, really interesting. And then you could say like, and like you could write down exactly what you did and how it worked. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, like you don't even really know everything that you did. Like a lot of times it's working energetically, like moving energy, like in a lot of times it's with certain body parts. Like if you like sometimes you really, and you know where to focus. Like you know this person, okay, you need to focus on the thigh here. There's something with the with the thigh that's wrong, that's causing an imbalance with the rest of the body. So you're gonna focus your healing on that one particular area. So and I've had that happen to me too, where some of my guides come and it could be painful at times. Like sometimes they'll just like reach into me and kind of like do something and kind of twist stuff around in there. And then I'm like screaming and in pain, but then afterwards I feel so good. It's like they loosened a knot that was restricting me in some way. So it's like, okay, that was painful, but thank you. Yeah, but not very.
Not very relaxing, it
Yeah,
sounds
exactly.
like. Well, just know, Ryan, that if you ever see me in my dreams, I'm going to ask you to define my abs for me. So if I'm pointing to my stomach, that doesn't mean I need solar plexus healing. It means. All right. So on a serious note, though, I know you mentioned past lives, and I wanted to actually go back to that for a second because I remember that I've heard you talk about dreams also being related to past lives, or for it to be possible that a dream is you in a past life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so at least for me, these are the types of dreams that are the hardest to remember because they're so different than what you're experiencing in your waking life. But when you remember them, it's like really psychedelic actually. Like
Mhm.
it's really intense. Like you could, because there have been times where I've woken up within dreams and I'm like totally somebody different. Like I look at myself sometimes in the mirror or just like look down and like I could be like a young girl or an old man or an old woman. And I look totally different. I could have a beard. Like I'm a totally different person, but up until that point, this was my life in the dream. So it's like really weird. And like you are talking with all of these people and they know you as that person, but you don't know yourself as that person. It's like all of a sudden you dream walk yourself. So you kind of wake up yourself in that other parallel reality, which is like, and then you're like, what is going on? And it's just very strange. So I take that as something maybe like you're reliving a past life, like a past experience where you were this other person in this other body, experiencing a certain experience with these people that you knew, that you know in this dream. Because like that's just the way energy works. Like it's not linear like we think it is in our 3D reality. Like there's a lot of things going on simultaneously. Like as you get deeper into the spiritual realm, time means less, so time comes from energy. So as you get more like energetically like higher in different realms, time isn't going to be the same. And you could kind of see yourself and experience yourself in different timelines, in different lives. So that's personally what I think it is. I think it's just me in past lives. There are some people that might think that it could be like your ancestors. Maybe you're waking up and you're seeing your ancestors, but to me, it just feels like it's me up until the time where I get lucid in those dreams. So, because it feels like it's me, I think it is a past life. So, that's just my own interpretation of that. But it could be, it's really awkward sometimes because sometimes you could say like something, blurt something out loud, but that, like, where am I? Like, what year is this? Who are you? And then, like, everything around you is gonna kind of like fall out. It's like kind of like if you, if you're if somebody just possesses you out of nowhere and you just start saying random stuff, like if you don't know what things are, like what day is today, like what year is this. So that's what it feels like, and the people around you respond accordingly. So it's very wild, but like those are some of the dreams that I think are the most difficult to remember, but they're also the wildest, like especially if you get lucid in them.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a dream where I was someone else or where I wasn't me. So that's something that I would love to be able to experience one day. But on that note, Ryan, as you were talking, like just like I guess it like jogs my memory, and I remembered that last night I actually had a lucid dream. So the last couple of times that that I've had a lucid dream, I always remember what you told me to try to like put my hand through something so I can tell whether or not I'm, dreaming. Can you tell us? And I remember I was doing this last night and I just kept hitting a wall. And Nujat was with me. Actually, Nujat was with me. It was one of our other close friends. And I realized in the dream and I said out loud, like, I think I'm dreaming right now. And then I kept trying to like see if my hand would go through the wall and it didn't. So can you tell us a little bit about like what, like how can you tell if you're dreaming? I said, obviously I was dreaming, so why was my hand not going through the wall?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few tips, like some dream hacks, and that's one of them, trying to put your hand through something. Another one that I like to do is jumping up, and if you float, you're dreaming. If you fall, like if you jump up and come down, then it's gravity and you're not dreaming, although that's not 100% accurate for the same reason that you just said, because sometimes you do feel the density. And remember that even though you're in a dream, there's still the same elements. So right now, like in waking life, we're used to earth elements. So you have all the periodic table of all the different elements, but everything is earth. So in the dreamscape, you have like the four main elements: fire, water, air, and earth. And if you're stuck in like the earth, like a root chakra energy, for example, or just feeling earth energy in general, then you are gonna feel that density even in the state. And then you're gonna feel that gravity, because gravity is different in dreams. So if you're in a more airy state, it's going to be very easy for you to float. If you're in anything other than earth, then you're going to be able to float. You're going to be able to move through stuff in dreams. But if you're really in that earth energy, then you're going to feel those barriers, because there's still earth energy there. And that's why you weren't able to put your hand through. And that's probably the most difficult to get lucid in. But I have noticed that if you are in an earth state, like if you're in earth energy in a dream and you do wake up in that, it's probably one of the easiest to really go into the astral world, because you are separate from your body, but you are grounded. So that's like, if you can realize that and then stick with it, that's probably one of the easiest way to astral project, because you are grounded at that point, so you don't return to your body as easily as you would as if you were in like your air element or water element when you're less grounded.
My issue is just like in the waking state, I my ADD, like I just get distracted. I think even in the dream world, I just literally get distracted and continue dreaming and forget that I realized that I was dreaming.
Yeah, so there are two basic problems that people experience when they first start lucid dreaming. The first is what you said, where you kind of get hypnotized back into the dream state because you lose awareness. So it's like your awareness is placed back on your surroundings and you forget yourself. So you lose that consciousness in the moment. So that's one. Second one is you get overexcited, and if you get too excited, then you could return back to your body. And if you return back to your body, then you wake up. So those are the two traps, I think. So when people first start lucid dreaming, those are the two things that I think keep them from having a really vivid and long lucid dream. Those two things, like getting caught back, like hypnotized back into that dream reality, and also waking up because you're too excited.
Right. I think that that is what's happened to me the few times that I've been able to tap into that, is that I will just get so distracted by trying to control some aspect of the dream, that or the outcome, that I won't even try to like astral project or anything like the tips that you've given me many times.
Yeah, you basically just go with the flow. Like once you realize you're in a dream, then you just have to stay calm, go with the flow, and then just start manifesting. So, like I'll try to manifest a door or a mirror. Like for example, when I start getting lucid, then usually I know I'm in my room, just like not in my body. So I'll just walk to my door and then walk through it. And then once I get out of my door, it's usually another universe. Or another thing that I do a lot is I look for a mirror, or I manifest a mirror and use that as a portal or a gateway, or sometimes even look at myself in the mirror and see past lives. So there's a few different tips that you could do to really wake up, and those are also gateways into the astral as well, especially when you go through a door into another dimension, like another portal in your dream, or go through a mirror, or go through something. So it's always good when you know you're in a dream to like walk through something and go on the other side and see what's on the other side.
I would love to be able to get to that point. That sounds so fascinating. What is, I guess, what's the craziest experience that you've had, Ryan, in a lucid dream? It sounds like you go into all these other dimensions and universes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. It's like I've found myself on other planets before, so I guess that's the some of the craziest ones. And like, I don't want to get too caught up, because I know we're gonna have more episodes on like astral projection and aliens and stuff. But definitely seeing beings that evolved on other planets. That's probably the craziest thing that I've experienced in a lucid state.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I think we're definitely going to have quite a few more episodes on dreams and astral projection and aliens and all the different beings and portals and dimensions that Ryan has encountered. But yeah, I mean, this has been so eye-opening and fascinating, Ryan. Obviously, we've known you for 15 years, but I feel like every time we have a conversation, I learn something new about you, and it's one of my favorite things about you.
Yes, you really never cease to amaze us with your wealth of information and experiences. So, yeah, I think hopefully this episode was helpful just to learn a little bit more about, dream techniques. First of all, like the very basics that Ryan started with, just being able to remember your dreams more and dream more and then eventually get to a point where you can know that you're in a dream and if you're really lucky, ends up on a different planet or universe like Ryan. But Ryan, is there anything else that you want to add that you think would be helpful for people that are kind of getting into this dream work?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of the stuff we talked about in the beginning is really key to get yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared to get into that state. Like do those lifestyle modifications, the really simple ones that a lot of people don't even consider, like with the not eating too late or and avoiding blue light. Do some of the techniques like meditation, like Kriya yoga or any type of Kundalini yoga, stuff like that before bed. I mean, there's so many things, and just keep the dream journal, and you'll notice that things will really start clicking after a while. So, and read too. There's a lot of literature on dream works, like the Greeks talked about it all the time. Like there's a lot of good Greek literature on dreaming and the astral body. Um, so they talk about there's whole books written by Greek philosophers on the astral body, the vehicle of the soul, they call it, the Merkaba body. So all of this, like there's entire books written by philosophers on this that aren't even taught in school because people nowadays don't even know how to interpret that. So, like, it's so far from what we're used to with the sensory world that it's not even taught in school. But this was taught by some major philosophers from Plato, some of the Pythagoras and the pre-Socratic philosophers. Iamblichus wrote treatises on this. Proclus, they have whole treatises on the like for example, the vehicle of the soul, the Ochema, it's called. Ochema, which was the vehicle or the astral body. So you could read some of these that have been translated in recent years. I think John Finnemore has done some of these translations over the past 20 years, and they're really interesting if you want to get a historical and scientific understanding of the astral body. And for example, the Greeks like to call it the solar body. So they called it Orgietes Soma. So this was Orgietes meaning gold, body of gold, golden body, because your consciousness is infused into it. So just like the sun radiates from within itself, your soul radiates through your astral body when you are awake in your dreams, and that's when you start to astral project. So that is your solar body. So when you just have regular dreams, that's called your lunar body because lunar is reflection of the sun. It's reflections, it's shadows. So you don't, like at that point, you're at the state where you're not there yet as far as gaining lucidity, but like it's still reflection of the light. That light is always there because you're living and breathing, and you just don't know that you are there yet, and you're not fully conscious there. So you just have to build up your consciousness and just keep that energy within and use that energy, push it within. It's called, so the Indians call it pratyahara. So that's when you shut off the outward senses, the five senses outward, and bring them in, like see blank space, and then let the senses go inward. Then you activate all of the inner senses like clairaudience and clairvoyance, clairsentience. So those are the inner senses, those are the spiritual senses. And to do that, that's called pratyahara. So that's another aspect of the breath work that comes after the breath work.
I think that's a great place for us to wrap up, because I really think we should do a future episode on all the clairs and strengthening the clairs. I think that would be super helpful, practical tips. So yeah, we can look out for that in a future episode. But I think, guys, I think that's it for our episode on dream work, and maybe we can put some recommendations. If Ryan has some recommendations on some good books to delve deeper into this topic, we can maybe put that in the show notes. But if you enjoy this episode, leave us a review, and we'll be back soon with another interesting topic on expanding your consciousness. Thank you guys for listening.
Sweet dreams.